If you're watching this video, there's a 97% chance that at some point you've watched a video, or at least saw a thumbnail on YouTube, trying to tell you how they flew first class on so-and-so airline for free. Free? Yes, free. Except for those hundreds of thousands of points and hundreds of dollars in fees and taxes. Free. Well, today, I did get something for free. Actually, free. This seat. It wasn't an upgrade as I boarded. I chose this seat when I booked the flight. But I only paid for business class, and let me tell you, first class is good. But you want to know what's better? First class for free. By the way, if you want to know the next 5 videos coming out on the channel, you'll always be able to find that info in the video description. Let me welcome any of you that might be new to the channel. My name is Kevin. I'm here to give you a self-funded and honest look at some of the best, and some of the not so best, airlines and hotels in the world, which I've been bringing to you full-time for the past 4 years. 4.5, I guess. Check out my hundreds of videos, scan the QR code, or click the link in the description to learn more about how I do things. Let's get to the airport. Welcome to Bangkok. We're now heading to the city's primary intercontinental airport, Suvarnabhumi, which is around a 40-minute drive away from the city, which sometimes takes 2 hours. Luckily today was smooth sailing. So while we arrive and get checked in, I'll spill the beans about how I booked this flight and try to let you down as gently as possible as I tell you you can no longer replicate it. But let it be a lesson that there's always a benefit to just taking a bit of time each week and checking on prices and points and the like. Let me also just say that when you run a channel that's 100% self-funded, as in you never actually get anything for free, finding deals or loopholes like this are genuinely exciting. So when booking through Qatar Airways website using points, flights from Southeast Asia to the US East Coast in business, today I'm actually going to Atlanta, go for 95 to 100,000 Avios, their points currency. You can imagine, you browse the dates, select your flight from Bangkok to Doha, and then from Doha to Atlanta. Except in this case, there was what I presume was a glitch in the system, or maybe promotion, I'm not too sure. It only applied to any routing that had an A380 on one of the legs. So you search through them, you pick your flights, you choose business class, and your total would be 95,000 Avios, if Saver Awards were available. But you could also choose first class on that A380 leg, and the price was still 95,000 Avios. Just for context, my personal valuation of 95,000 Avios is around $2,200 US. Way back when I booked this, I was able to replicate it from Sydney or Perth as well, as was one of my Patreons. A part of me thought that it was an error that would eventually get corrected, so I didn't want to book flights to position to Australia just to be downgraded on that flight. So that's why I chose the easier option from Bangkok. I recently just did a check online, and while it's easy to find the same route in business for 95,000, it doesn't even let you choose a mixed cabin booking anymore. So that's how I got in first class for free, or at least no extra than a business class fare. Qatar Airways now operates their own lounge here in Bangkok near the D gates, though there is no separate first class area. In addition to the spaces that you see here, there was also a dining room with a la carte dining. But it was a small space and every table was full, so filming it was not something I could actually do. The lounge is fine. It's on the interior side of the terminal, so no aircraft view. My criticism of the lounge is simply that it had a very sterile atmosphere. From the design of it to the fact that you could hear a pin drop inside. I'm sorry to say it's one of the least impressive lounges in the airport. If you're flying Qatar in business or first, I would definitely recommend visiting a different One World lounge instead. Our gate tonight would be my first time to finally check out the satellite terminal, which is connected by a quick train ride. Note that you can only access the satellite terminal if you have an assigned gate there. If you're enjoying the video and would like to support the channel, there are many ways that you can do so. A quick like on the video and subscribe helps videos with the algorithm. You could join my YouTube channel memberships to get early access to some videos and access to all of my community posts. Or you could check out my Patreon, where I post the most and can help you out with any travel-related questions. Whatever you do, thanks very much for doing it. And there she is. The satellite terminal is fine and functional, but if I'm honest, I much prefer the main hall. Love it or hate it, the main terminal is very unique at least. This satellite felt like it could have been anywhere, except for the giant elephants. Boarding was bang on time, so let's get on board. The A380s board via 3 jet bridges, 1 upper and 2 lower, and this is the upper bridge. I was guided to my seat and very pleased to say that the cabin looks and feels exactly as I've always thought of it from the videos and photos that I've seen. Sometimes you enter a cabin that you've seen on a screen so many times, and it will feel smaller, more cramped, or you name it. But this cabin of 8 seats at the front of the upper deck felt bright, spacious, and surprisingly modern. I've always loved the finishes of these seats. I think the warmer touches such as the wood trim are something that Qatar has always been missing in their business class. I love QSuites, don't get me wrong, but it's hard to argue that the design isn't pretty cold. There are no overhead bins, so the crew will be happy to take your carry-on if you'd like, but there's also quite a few storage areas around the seat. And frankly, there's just a lot of surface area. Considering these cabins are 11 years old, they are in like 98% pristine condition. The biggest criticism of these cabins is that there are no enclosed suites or doors, and yes, agreed, I get it. But that doesn't change how comfortable and spacious these seats still are, and frankly, they do feel fairly private with the surround that can be lowered and raised. Qatar originally ordered and had 10 A380s, with the first being delivered in 2014. Since then, the airline has not had a love-hate, but rather a love-hate, maybe love relationship with them. Pre-departure drinks and snacks were offered, along with dates and Arabic coffee. In 2019, just 1 year after taking delivery of their 10th frame, the former CEO announced the entire fleet would be retired in 2024, declaring, quote, "In my opinion, looking back, it was the biggest mistake we did to purchase the A380s," unquote. Luckily, in more ways than one, for Qatar Airways, he is no longer the CEO, and after a 2-year mini-retirement during COVID, the A380s came back into service in 2022. The new CEO, Badar Amir, commenting on the former CEO's comments, quote, "Maybe he gave this comment years ago based on the situation of the industry at the time. But today it's different," end quote. Noting that the aircraft were beneficial to use at airports or in countries where there were slot restrictions in place, such as London Heathrow or Australia. The safety video began to roll, the older version of it, which frankly I liked a lot better than the new Kevin Hart version, and we pushed back. The future of the A380s isn't very clear beyond the fact that they'll be here for some years to come, with the airline announcing some modifications that will be made for them, stopping short of saying that they'll refit the cabins though. As for first class in general, something that the old CEO wanted to do away with, it's not only here to stay for Qatar, but is also being completely redesigned to debut on select 777-9s whenever they come into service. Says their CEO, quote, "We wanted to combine the experience of flying commercial and flying on a private jet, and develop something completely new," unquote. Considering Qatar Airways does operate an executive private jet company, I'd say they have a good handle on what that customer may want on board. Now, besides the lack of a door, the next biggest, perhaps the biggest criticism of this first class is that it has nearly the same soft product to business class. This is true, and this is a very valid complaint. The blanket and pillows, for example, while they're plump and plush, they're exactly the same that you'll find in business. At least in first, they give unlimited Wi-Fi for free, and no, that code won't work anymore. There are two primary things that distinguish first and business on Qatar. The first being a few of the wines and champagne. This bottle of champagne, for example, retails for around $235. The other primary difference is the extravagant caviar service. Let's get into the meal service. Here's the full menu, including the wine list. The red prices next to the wines are my addition, just to give you an idea of how much that bottle might cost on the ground. Of course, on board they're free to drink. The amuse was smoked salmon with an overly aggressive citric acidy forward sauce. After that, it got really good. I enjoy caviar, but I only eat it in the air and I know absolutely nothing about it, except when it looks good. And I do have to say, Qatar's caviar service presentation is the second best that I've seen, perhaps only behind Oman Air when they used to offer it in first class. For the rest of the menu, I went full Thai. I love how Qatar always offers flavors from their origin or destination, and with their usual 6 daily flights from Bangkok, their catering order is big enough to really invest in it. There were 3 dishes on the menu tonight from Thai chef Ton Tasanakajan, and I chose all 3, starting off with the river prawn with coconut, gourami fish, herbs, and chili oil. This is an incredible dish in vision and presentation, but perhaps one that is a bit difficult to serve as intended because of the river prawn, which has the same texture as a giant gummy bear, if it had a bit of a snap to it. 6.8 out of 10. For the main, things improve significantly with the grass-fed beef short rib with caprao sauce, seasonal vegetable, and duo rice. The short ribs were tender and full of flavor with just enough spice. 8.7 out of 10. For dessert, I had what is confidently labeled just as mango. It came with smoked coconut ice cream. My preferred title is Mango 37 Ways. The number of components in some of Qatar's desserts has always impressed me, especially the crew's ability to recreate the plates so perfectly. This was delicious, 9.5 out of 10. After dinner, I had a browse of the entertainment system. The remote is not the most responsive thing on earth, but if you got your thumb pacing just right, it was easy enough to control. There is of course a great moving map, though not the newest generation, as well as a decent pair of noise-canceling headphones. Pajamas are provided to first class, keep in mind the same are provided to business, and the crew offered to make up the seat across from me into a bed since there was only 5 of us in the cabin tonight. I'm lucky enough to say I think this is the 9th first class product that I've documented on the channel, and I do have to say, as a bed, this has to be up there in the top 2 for being the most comfortable. The other contender is A&A, but I know that surface is just too firm for many. The Qatar seats, especially with the added mattress topper, is much more forgiving. As for the sleeping experience though, I think it's lacking without a proper duvet or better pillow. If you gave me the same bedding from British Airways first class on this seat, that would be my number 1. I did manage to get a few hours of decent sleep in me though. I woke up and had a look at the amenity kit before checking out the ginormous bathroom. For quite a while, Qatar was offering the exact same amenity kits in first that you get in business. So they have differentiated them ever so slightly since. The pouch is a bit larger and a different design, and you get a set of 3 diptyque fragrances rather than just the 1. Note that Qatar usually changes up their pouch designs faster than I can keep track of them, so while the contents will probably be the same, the pouch may have evolved already. And then we have the massive bathroom. Some would call this a social area. There were other light bites on the menu that you could order if you'd like, but I didn't have any room left. Not even for YouTube. Service on board was fantastic, and herein lies the challenge of having a first class when your business class is very good. The service was attentive, charming, and anticipatory, and exceeded service that I've had on many other airlines first class. However, I've also had nearly the same level of service sitting in QSuites. So, is that a win or a loss? I don't really know. Is the first class experience with Qatar Airways good enough to warrant double the price of a business class ticket now? Hell no. But that being said, it is without a doubt a more comfortable way to fly, and for the right price, especially on that Sydney to Doha flight, it's definitely something worth considering. If I knew that I had QSuites on an upcoming flight, I wouldn't feel the need to want first. But Qatar's business class seats leave a little bit to be desired on their A380, so in that case, it's worth a thought. It would take quite a lot for Qatar to move up or down from their current slot, so for now, they remain. As for the score of this video, it's a weird one, since my scores are usually relative to the price that I paid. So I'm scoring this as if I bought a business class ticket and then paid like $1,000 to upgrade it at the airport. Something like that I think is fair. So I hope you enjoyed part 1 of this journey to Atlanta. If you did, please be sure to click the like button and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on my weekly flight and resort videos. I'll see you next time from here in Doha. As always, thanks for watching until the end.